Matt Campbell has given his introductory speech to Penn State on Monday, and trust me, it makes you want to run through a brick wall. He promises to bring toughness to this Penn State team. However, we are losing Jim Knowles and possibly Andy Kotelnicki. What impact does that have on Penn State? And also, we'll take a look at some Penn State basketball as well as first-round college football playoff predictions. That's coming up on Penn State Gridiron Podcast. All right. You'll be seeing this video Thursday, December 11th. Welcome to Penn State Gridiron Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Javer, alongside Jake Katolka, co-host. And breaking news on this, well, it's Wednesday evening, Jake, when we're recording this, but Sharon Moore has been fired by the University of Michigan for having an inappropriate relationship with someone on the staff. Now, I don't know about you, but this is kind of giving me Mel Tucker vibes. Remember that happened with
Mel Tucker did
a couple years ago. And it's kind of giving me a similar feel because I can't exactly remember what he did, but I know it had something to do with a relationship with somebody, and it's kind of a very similar situation.
Well, Mike, at this point, it's a scandalous, littered university. They're still not covering from the cheating scandal, which that's a really polarizing scandal because this is going to sound really controversial. We had a lot of debates about it. I was under the impression, especially in 2023, that Michigan actually found a lot of its success without the cheating, but a lot of people disagree. I think nonetheless, Connor Stalions was cheating. So they have that, and they're still being affected by it reputation-wise. And now we have Sharon Moore struggling to separate his personal life from his professional life. So, it's giving the Michigan State comparison is good. And also, Penn State also had a really big scandal too in the early 2010s. So we'll see how much the NCAA continues to. I mean, the NCAA won't punish Michigan for a personal thing with its coach, but now they're entering the head coaching market. We'll see what they're going to do. Will they promote somebody or will they go for an outside hire? Will an outside hire view that job as attractive with all the scandal? I don't know. We'll see.
And Virginia Tech fans are not only coping hard with Matt Campbell, but saying that he has the funniest thing he could do is go to Michigan, which is not happening, by the way. So, speaking of Matt Campbell, we are going to move into his speech that he had Monday. And trust me, I think it was a great first impression that Matt Campbell had on Penn State, Jake. I think, there's two types of coaches when it came. Like, James Franklin and Matt Campbell are two different coaches. We have James Franklin, who was a family coach, cared about the players. Okay, I get it. You have to care about the players, but there was no business really involved with James Franklin. And then you take Matt Campbell, who also will love his players, but they're gonna work, and they're gonna work extra hard to bring toughness to this Penn State team. And this is what I think is really actually getting me fired up, and how he wants to bring toughness to Penn State. And it kind of just makes you want to run through a brick wall. That's the kind of
that's the vibe I got. I mean, the tears seem genuine, right? Obviously, anybody could be, a charismatic salesman and fake the emotions, but, genuine, authentic. That's what I got from that speech. He just seemed like someone that really wanted to be there. And the fact that I heard Iowa State literally was going to counter and offer him a new contract with a raise, and he just said, no, I want this job. This is important to me. So that's what we want. There were multiple press conferences this year where Franklin was asked face-to-face, James, do you want to be the coach at Penn State? And he couldn't answer it. Now, I guess to be fair, Franklin has a history of being weird in press conferences with that, answering questions, but that one should have been easy to answer. So, Franklin at one point was enthusiastic about Penn State. I think the consensus is that, and I agree with, by the way, that he became kind of stale. So it's nice to see someone that genuinely wants the job again and wants to be successful with this program. To your point, I want to run through a brick wall.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to get a little glimpse of what Matt Campbell said, here's an audio clip from his introductory speech on Monday.
From this day forward, we're going to wake up every single day in this football program, and we're going to build championship habits. And we're going to do it one day at a time. And we're going to do it from the ground up. And we're going to do it in a football program that's going to demand toughness, mental and physical toughness. Demand discipline at every corner.
Yeah, just seeing that clip, Jake, just makes me, again, I want to run through a brick wall. If I could see Matt Campbell bringing toughness, physicality, but also loving his players, I think that would be a very good mix for Penn State.
Yeah, yeah, toughness is important. Like at the end of the day, these teams just need to be ready to play, right? Like, because there are, Campbell's not going to be perfect. He's not going to win every top 5 or top 10 game he has. But again, when we have those tough losses, when we go through adversity, he needs to have his teams ready, which requires mental toughness, right? Franklin, again, to the point of him getting stale and not having his teams ready, he didn't have his teams ready at UCLA and against Northwestern. 20-point
Collapse at
underdog
Oregon.
teams that beat us. So again, that toughness thing is important because it shows that he's going to have his teams ready to play football and overcome the practical pieces of adversity that you have in the football world. It's just how it
And
is.
and at that point, with James Franklin not having his team ready, the fans always showed up to his games. The fans
Yeah,
we
yeah,
did our part. The thing
yeah,
is, you had 111,000 people at Oregon, at the Oregon game, which is second
yeah,
highest. That's only 15 people behind the Ohio State game from last year.
yeah.
And what happens? Why? Why are we?
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say it, but I think, by the looks of it, those Penn State players and James Franklin had Oregon money line in that game.
Yeah, yeah,
Mounting
absolutely.
a comeback to make it look interesting and then throwing that after being able to run down Oregon's throat into overtime, but yet we start throwing the ball on first down. Why are we doing that? Now, you can't tell me there's something fishy with that situation, but we can't really get into that. That was a very frustrating
Well, to
moment
be
for
fair, when
myself.
has Franklin ever been a really, genius in-game coach? Like, I mean, I've been watching this stuff since 2017, which I know there's fans watching this that have been watching it. I met a guy at the bar. He was watching Penn State football for 40 years, but 2017 is a good starting point for me. And, in 2018, there was the run up the middle on 4th and 5. Franklin's always been a very questionable in-game coach. I'm going to get one little point off my chest, though. You mentioned Penn State fans being really passionate. I think there's this misconception that Penn State fans have these sky high expectations that we want national championships every year. I don't want a national. I know we won't win a national championship every year. I know that's not realistic. Not even Alabama did that under Nick Saban. I just want our team to be a contender, contending for the championship. In Campbell's contract, there was a clause saying for every CFP bid we get, he gets an extension. So I just want to be contending. I want to be like Indiana. I want to win big games when it matters and have a chance to win the championship every year. I don't want to win the championship every year. I know we won't win it every year, but I want our team to have a chance. I just wanted to get that out of the way. It's been annoying me lately.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. And trust me when I say this, Penn State and James Franklin did not have the correct coaching staff to make a national championship. It starts with Franklin hiring these guys. And speaking of this, these guys are actually, some of these guys are going to Virginia Tech now, which is actually good. But we're going to start with losing the defensive coordinator, Jim Knowles. He's on his way to the SEC in Tennessee. Now, the thing is, Jim Knowles won national championship with Ohio State the year before he came to Penn State. And for some reason, it was some kind of complex scheme or something just didn't click when it came to these Penn State players. And his scheme, it just didn't work with Penn State. And I don't know why it didn't work out that well. But how do you really feel about Jim Knowles leaving to Tennessee?
Um, High level, just him leaving. Yeah, I'm completely fine with that. Again, I mentioned this in the last episode. ESPN or whatever TV network the game was on, like every now and then they would show these graphics basically saying like, oh, Knowles' defenses usually start out pretty rough around the edges. They give up a lot of points, they give up a lot of yards per game, but over time that gets better. In other words, they give up less points a game and less yards a game. Well, I don't know why his scheme is so complex, first of all. It's literally taking years to develop. I've also heard some people say that maybe he just didn't have the talent to make it work at Penn State, which naturally I'm really skeptical of, not because I'm biased, but because Penn State generally does recruit and do defense, right? I guess with the exception of
Or was
this
it
year.
a sabotage by Ohio State
Probably,
to
probably.
get rid of
Ohio State,
Knowles? Obviously, don't get me wrong. Ohio State's talent on defense, on paper, is better than Penn State. And Penn State has one of the best defenses in the country, usually almost every year.
yeah.
Now, like, is the there's no way they just get rid of him that easily. Like it just doesn't.
I don't know if Ohio State fans were like just a little bitter because we poached one of their coaches, but I heard on I creeped through their forums and I saw that a lot of them actually kind of soured on Jim Knowles. Apparently, Ryan Day gave him less power last year after that Oregon game where they gave up like 32 points. So apparently, like Ohio State's such a big brand, guys are going to go play football there anyways. Like, was it really Knowles having brilliant defensive schemes and recruiting high level talent, or did he just have a great complete football team to work with? I mean, it's a team game. It wasn't all Knowles. I don't know.
Yeah, I really do agree with what you said there, but I mean, losing Jim Knowles is not really that big of a deal to me. I think they can. I mean, we potentially bringing in John Heacock now from Iowa State, worked under Matt Campbell for so many years. But I want to talk about Ty Howell and Danny O'Brien first. We had Ty Howell, who is going to Virginia Tech to be the new offensive coordinator under Franklin. Was tight ends coach here at Penn State. Was able to develop Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren, best tight end in college football, most likely. I mean, is not really that much of a debate from the year he went off, the year that Penn State went to the college football playoffs. Now, the question is this a good hire for Franklin? Because Franklin's bringing over all of these coaches now from Penn State where he didn't have a lot of success with them. I don't know how to feel about Ty Howell to Virginia Tech. I don't know if that's really a good move for them, especially from a tight end position all the way up to an offensive coordinator position.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm not looking at it from I'm looking at it from the perspective of Ty Howell though, because it's like James Franklin cycled through 6 offensive coordinators in 12 years, 12 seasons as a coach. That's 2 per season. That's sorry, not 2 per. That's an average tenure of 2 years per coach. Like that. That's so. This guy, is he going to be like, oh yeah, I'm going into this job for 2? Like I feel like there's a lot of career uncertainty there. Like knowing how fast Franklin recycles through, OCs, the turnaround. It's like, is this guy doing it for the promotion, for the raise, or just because he really wants to work with James Franklin? I mean, again, he's developed great tight ends. I would have preferred he stayed at Penn State and kept developing tight ends. But I mean, for him, that's kind of a career risk, in my opinion. Yeah. As for Danny O, I mean, let's talk about Penn State's quarterback development.
I hate to say it, man. I mean, I give everyone who comes on to James Franklin's staff, or anyone's staff at Penn State, a chance. And Danny O'Brien had a chance to turn 5-star Drew Aller into a top NFL prospect. However, first of all, Drew Aller, pretty weak mental game when it comes to clutch situations. I don't know if that's a coaching problem. It probably is, and it's part Drew Aller at the same time. But at the same time, when it comes to quarterbacks, he didn't really do that good of a job. So I think I'm okay with him going.
Yeah, exactly. And it was Drew Aller. You had Sean Clifford, a guy who had literally 5 years, like in his 5th year. Joe Burrow in his 5th year threw 65 touchdown passes. He's an outlier. Maybe that's a bad example. No one does that. He's the only person that has done that. But you would expect Sean Clifford to have been a little better in his 4th and 5th years. The only quarterback under the Franklin era that really, really like excelled was McSorley, and even he took a step back in 2018 when Ricky Ronnie took over the offense and Joe Moorhead left. But who knows how much of that was really like there's so many nuances in football. Who knows how much was due to Franklin overstepping or too much OC change, or whether Danny O is actually a bad coach or not.
Yeah. I mean, again, Penn State's offense has always been a big issue for them, I feel like. But
yeah, we need a new offensive identity.
Yes, and that's what I'm hoping Matt Campbell, I don't know who he's going to get, but hopefully someone out there. If he decides not to retain Andy Kotelnicki, which I don't think he will, I think they're going to move on from him as well. But I want to talk about John Heacock probably coming into Penn State as defensive coordinator. He worked under Matt Campbell for so many years. And he actually talks about bringing in a new 3-3-5 scheme. You want to talk a little bit about that and what you think about that, Jake?
Yeah, I had to do some digging on Google about this. I come from a track and field background, not a football background. So with the way I look at it, I guess in this defensive scheme, which he pioneered it relies on three safeties deep and two cornerbacks. So having three safeties is essentially their way of like the whole like point of the scheme is to limit explosiveness, like how Ohio State usually likes to score touchdowns, right? And to make teams really be methodical and have to drive up the field and be really creative to have to score. Which there's a lot of explosive offenses in the Big Ten, so that could work. The scheme also uses edge rushers less, which is like a huge identity to
That's
Penn
not a
State.
Penn State thing, though. That's the thing. Penn State is very reliant on their linebackers and edge rushers to get in there and get to the quarterback. I know they're so I hope that there's some kind of blend if Heacock does come into this role where not only are they using this scheme with the safeties and not relying on edge rushers, but at the same time they use in critical moments their edge rushers to get to the quarterback.
I agree. This guy has coached in the Big Ten. He has experience at Indiana. When he was at Youngstown State, however you pronounce it, he was working with Jim Tressel, the legendary Ohio State coach. So he has good roots. He comes from a good coaching tree. And again, he has Big Ten football experience, albeit it was like 30 years ago. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to give him a chance, especially after seeing Jim Knowles give up like 300 rushing yards to three different quarterbacks in like 3 or 4 different games this season. After seeing this season, I'm open to literally any change whatsoever.
And I mean, I just never understood not putting a spy on the quarterback. I mean, when it came to Nico at UCLA, had all these chances. I mean, let's be honest, UCLA wasn't doing that much on offense besides Nico running the ball.
No. Same with Iowa, man. They put that whole game on Mark Gronowski's back.
Gronowski ran all over Penn State. I mean, it's just
it's crazy.
I mean, let's be honest. Ever since Franklin got fired from the role and Terry Smith was put into that situation, I think it was at least a little bit better. I mean, obviously there were still some issues, but overall decent. So, I mean, at the same time, like Jim Knowles, man, I'm okay with him going because if he's just going to continue to let these quarterbacks run all over us, then what's the point?
Yeah, notice how when Franklin left too, Terry Smith was able to like work with Kotelnicki and simplify the offense. None of this weird gimmicky stuff. Give the ball to the guy with the hot hand, Katron Allen, and try to throw the ball more downfield. Even though that has historically been tough for us these last few seasons without any super talented wide receivers. We don't have a Carnell Tate, for example. Even with that, our offense got better. You could argue we played some easier games, but our offense got better even in those harder games. We went toe-to-toe with Indiana.
I would say the Nebraska game was the most complete game that Penn State played all year.
But you know what didn't get better? It was consistently hurting us, our defense.
Yeah. I hate to say it. I agree with you, and that's usually not a Penn State thing. But unfortunately, we got to stop here and take a quick little break before we start talking about the Pinstripe Bowl versus Clemson. Why not Pitt? But, we'll be talking about that in just a couple minutes here. Also take a quick little peek into Penn State basketball and see how they're doing as they open up Big Ten play. That's coming up on Penn State Gridiron. All right, welcome back to Penn State Gridiron. Mike Javer alongside co-host Jake Katulka, and we are looking at Penn State's bowl game ahead. Pinstripe Bowl, Yankee Stadium, December 27th at noon, versus Clemson. Tell me if I'm wrong here, Jake, but I'm pretty sure both these teams were top 5 preseason teams. So this is kind of like almost like a disappointment kind of game at the end because these two teams were ranked so high at the beginning of the year. But again, preseason ranking shouldn't really matter. So we have Penn State versus Clemson, the Pinstripe Bowl.
Yeah, as one of our commenters last week pointed out, if we played Clemson, it would brilliantly be called the Disappointment Bowl, which I completely agree with. They were 4 preseason. We were number 2. So to your point, I think preseason rankings are really just goofy, for lack of a better word. You don't know what's going to happen. And anybody that takes college football really serious, like in the college football community, there is starting to be a lot of merit for the argument that you should just start ranking teams like a quarter to midway through the season. But whatever, it is what it is. Both of us obviously had disappointing seasons. I would probably pick Penn State to win that game. I haven't really watched Clemson play much football, so this isn't based on some, uh, complex form of data analytics. It's just my bias, but yeah, that should be fun. I think it's going to be played at the Yankee Stadium. If I were in the area, I'd maybe look into going. Maybe I wouldn't, though, honestly. I might save up some money and try to buy a college football playoff ticket for when we make our miraculous comeback in college football. But yeah, it'll be fun to watch. I wanted one more game. It's Penn
And,
State
and
football.
yeah, and I think now we can actually make a good score prediction on this game. Now, according to opening lines, the Penn State Nittany Lions are underdogs in this game, 2.5 points.
Really?
They are underdogs, yes. Just looked it up. So, I mean, kind of coming into the slight underdog here against Clemson. I mean, Clemson, again, had a bunch of those losses in the beginning of the season, kind of like Penn State did, but again, at the same time, I don't really know how to feel about this game. The biggest problem is we're having some guys opt out. We had Zane Durant that opted out for the NFL draft. Zacchae Wheatley, the big name, who was also opted out to the NFL draft. So something tells me if we're releasing our defensive coordinator, I think our defense is going to struggle a little bit. Seeing some fresh names in there. I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I'm going to give Clemson the edge here just because of our guys. We have so many seniors that are going to be opting out for the NFL draft. That's just the inevitable at this point. I'm going to go 34-27 Clemson.
Okay. Yeah, that's a fair prediction. I'm sure if you look into it, though, again, I don't follow Clemson, obviously, because I'm not an alum and I'm not a fan. But I guess they probably have guys sitting out, too, I would imagine. And do you blame them? I mean, in this 12-team era, we've diluted
them. Yeah, that's kind of the point, too. I mean, if they have a lot of seniors, too, which they probably do, then they're going to be losing a lot of – because I'm pretty sure Cade Klubnik, their quarterback, I'm sure is a senior.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure Cade Klubnik. I don't know if he's going to be playing in this game, but at the same time, I do think high-scoring game. I'll give Clemson the edge for now. Do a little more research, and then I'll be able to get back to you on.
Yeah, fair enough. I'll take Penn State. I'll just throw out a 30-27. What I want to see, and you'll probably agree with me, we have a lot of star senior players. I want to see. My eyes are going to be on Grunkmeyer. I want to see him play a really good game because if there's a quarterback battle, I would prefer that. I would prefer that Campbell kind of eyes in, like zeroes in on Grunk and his development.
Yeah. Grunkmeyer, they need Matt Campbell. I hate to say this, man. If they want to get Rocco Beck from Iowa State, I'm cool with that. But at the same time, you have to try to retain Ethan Grunkmeyer because that guy has high upside to him. I mean, he played pretty good under Terry Smith. So
he completed 69% of his passes.
Yeah, pretty good, man. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I like the guy.
But let's be honest here. Penn State football is not the same as Penn State basketball. And Penn State basketball opened up their Big Ten play last night against Indiana. And they got smacked. I mean, they got smacked. 113-72. Lamar Wilkerson of Indiana had 44 points on 73% shooting. Now, Mike Rhodes, Jake, now, as much as I don't know much about Penn State basketball, I think it was just important to bring this up. So maybe you can enlighten me here. We went to our first game against Lehigh in 2023.
Yeah.
And that it was a scene because usually, I mean, Lehigh out of conference, team Penn State expected to win big. Mike Rhodes came to this team in 2023 and they had high hopes for him. I'm not saying like Penn State is a basketball school by any means, but with the recent, again, Penn State has not been that good basketball. Don't get me wrong. Again, as I mentioned, Penn State's not a basketball school. But is it time to move on from Mike Rhodes? I don't know. I heard most of this team is young, a lot of freshmen because they don't have Ace from last year. They don't have DeMarco Dunn anymore. They don't have Kanye Clary, all those players. And I do remember that were actually decent. Penn State did give a lot of ranked Big Ten teams a run for their money last year. But at the same time, I don't know if this Mike Rhodes thing is really working out for a lot of us. So we're going to keep an eye on that as we go to our next break. We're going to be talking about college football playoffs first round and making our prediction. That's coming up on Penn State Gridiron. All right, we are back. Penn State Gridiron, Mike Javer alongside Jake Katolka, host and co-host here on your weekly podcast. Now, Jake, we are on to the first round of college football playoffs,
Yeah,
and
I'm
we do
excited.
have a couple things to talk about. We'll talk about some of these matchups, make our prediction, as well as a look at a team that got snubbed from that playoff. We'll have a little chat about that here at the end. But let's start from the beginning. We'll talk about two teams that won their conferences and kind of got that auto bid into the playoffs. And that starts with JMU at Oregon. I am assuming the line is probably pretty big on this game. I didn't really
Yeah,
look.
I can't see JMU. I'd say let me look it
21
up.
point favorite. I think that Oregon wins this game pretty easily. I mean, props to JMU. They had a great season, but again, they're
Yeah, they
they're a
did.
group of five team that are just, I mean, they don't play the competition that the Big Ten does. I mean,
Yeah.
I just don't see a scenario where Oregon loses this game.
I think Oregon in general is better than people look, right? I think a lot of their season was them kind of playing like the bottom of the barrel Big Ten. Their best win was USC. Then they kind of got thrown around by Indiana on their home turf, which so I think Oregon in the last month really looked good. I mean, their offense went off. They put up 42 on USC. I think they are like genuinely a contender, and I think they'll win by 15 to 20 points against JMU at home too. They usually don't lose at home, with the exception of Indiana. Indiana is defying literally every football norm, status quo possible. But
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. And then the second game, another group of, or I should say, another team that was got that auto bid from winning their championship of their conference. Tulane at Ole Miss. That's the 11 versus 16. Ole Miss currently set at a 17 and a half point favorite in that game. Again, this is just another one of those games where I just don't see Ole Miss losing. Again, at the same time,
yeah,
these are the two games that I can confidently say
yeah. I
that the home
agree.
team will win.
And Mike, that spread is fine because fun fact, Ole Miss already beat Tulane 45-10. That was earlier in the season, or I think it was like 45 to, I forget the exact score, but they won by 20 plus points. That was earlier in the season. I know things changed. You know, the old classic football mantra: it's hard to beat a team twice in a season, but
Yeah, it
probably
was
it's
45
probably
to
easy.
10.
Yeah, it's probably easier to beat a group of five
Yeah.
team twice. So I'll go Ole Miss by again 14 to 20 points.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, now we can start talking about some of the bigger games, and we're going to start with probably the not as big game. We'll start actually with number 10 Miami versus Texas A&M.
Yeah, I mean, this is gonna be a good game. I'm gonna be honest. Last year, every home team won in the first round, which showed the big advantage that you have with the CFP first round home field advantage. A&M's home. I honestly am gonna pick it. Like, I'm honestly going with Miami just because I think there needs to be an upset, and this is the game in my eyes that is most likely. And I
Yeah.
think like Miami has some.
Mhm.
You could be a small chip or a big chip. I think they have something of a chip on their shoulder because of all the doubt that they got getting into the playoffs. Like I
Absolutely,
get it.
yeah.
They got the bid. They got the bid, but everybody was saying like, oh, like think about for weeks the committee devalued their win against Notre Dame and flipped switch at the last second. You know, maybe Miami will be fired up, you know, and be like, hey, we belong here. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I always like picking an upset. I'll go Miami.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think that Miami's going to come out with a little bit of chip on their shoulder. Texas A&M, though, let's be honest, very good team. I know they have a lot of speed on that team. I think they can get up some of that. And Miami does have a good defense.
Yeah,
Don't get
yeah,
me
they do.
wrong; they do have a good defense. And again, the line is set at 3.5 as in favor of Texas A&M. But I am going to agree with what you say. I'm going to take Miami in this game
Yeah,
by a little bit. I think that Miami is going to come out again with a little bit of an edge with them. They barely snuck into the playoffs after having two pretty bad losses.
yeah.
But I think that
Yeah,
Miami,
Carson Beck, he's gonna, 4 interceptions per game. Carson Beck can't show up. We need the elite Carson Beck to show up. You know,
exactly.
Fun fact for our audience, one of my best friends from school, his brother goes to Miami. So John is like a 5% Miami fan. He's happy they got in the playoffs.
Absolutely. Yeah, good for them. And then I think the biggest round one game, I don't think it comes even close. That's Alabama, Oklahoma. I'm going to start here because these two teams played each other. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this game was at Alabama, wasn't it,
Correct.
when they played? Okay, so this is going to be at Oklahoma this time. However, I do think the situation's different this time. I think that, again, Alabama, there were some fans that were not expecting that this 3-loss Alabama team to make this playoff. A lot of people were expecting Notre Dame to be in there, which I can make a case for that. I could agree, but again, conference championship games should not determine your ranking too much because you're the top 2 teams in your conference. So honestly, as much as this, because the line on this game is 1.5 points in favor of Oklahoma, I'm going to take Alabama to win this game.
I 100% agree. Oklahoma won the first time off of like 3 turnovers. Yes, winning the turnover battle is a phenomenal formula for winning any football game, but you can't rely on that to win every game or a lot of games or even most games. Like Oklahoma is a very defense-first team. That's their identity. They don't really play offense. So, yeah, I'll take Bama in a rematch easy. Again, I feel like a lot of people are looking at it like, oh, it's a road game. Bama's the underdog. I think actually Bama's favored slightly. I'll go Bama.
Yeah, are they? Is it them favored? Let's see.
Yeah, I think so. I think I saw Bama.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, Bama is that slight favorite, 1.5 points. Yeah,
that's what I thought I saw.
I'll take Alabama to win that game. Ever since John Mateer, who was looking like a Heisman candidate at the beginning of the season, he went out with an injury and then he came back. He just hasn't looked the same. The Oklahoma offense hasn't looked the same. So I'm going to take Alabama in that game. Now, the biggest thing with the college football playoffs is Notre Dame. Notre Dame, not in a conference, snubbed 10-2, and didn't get a playoff spot. Now, let me be very, very honest with you here. They were ranked, I believe they were ranked 9th before the conference championship games by the playoff committee. We had Texas Tech and BYU. BYU ended up losing that game. They were knocked out of the playoffs. Texas Tech, obviously, they're up there. They got that first round bye. But at the same time, when it comes to, you look at head-to-head. Miami and Notre Dame played each other. If that was the fight for that last playoff spot before those group of 5 teams got that auto bid, it only makes sense. Yeah. You have to put Miami in there over Notre Dame.
Look, they were both 10-2. If Miami dropped 3 more games, or if Miami dropped 1 more game and it was 9-3 versus 10-2, yeah, you give Notre Dame the advantage. Look, they had the exact same. Look, I get it. Notre Dame killed the teams they played. Jeremiah Love looked great. 70 on Syracuse. I live in Pittsburgh. All the Pitt fans were mad when they beat up Pitt. But I get it. But 10-2, Miami won head-to-head. You can't just say that matchup did. I don't care if it happened in August. I don't care how much changes throughout the season. When you have 2 identical resumes or similar resumes, you got to compare that. Head-to-head has to mean something. It has to, it has to matter. I don't know what else to say. There's no other rational argument to make.
Yeah, at the same time, I understand Notre Dame fans' frustration, but at the same time, it's just the way it works out, man. You lost to Miami beginning of the season, and they just respected the head-to-head. That's all it was. I hate to break it. That only makes sense for college football playoffs, but we're going to see how these round 1 matchups actually happen. They're happening pretty soon, a couple weeks from now.
I'm excited, man.
I think they're next Friday they start.
Yeah, this is Friday they start. That's how it was last year. 1 Friday night, 3 Saturday. Fun fact, your 2 hosts of this podcast were at the game last year. It was so cold. I wish there was one this year.
Couldn't feel anything.
My God, my feet were frozen. But dude, all those pick sixes we had, that was such a good memory. So nostalgic last year.
Yeah, it was. It doesn't get much better. Hopefully 2 years from now, we'll be able to go back and be in that same situation. Penn State.
Yeah, I agree.
Playoff game in Beaver Stadium. But we do have to end the show here for the day. And we're going to be, the next time we actually do this show, Jake, we'll be able to talk about some of these college football playoffs games as they happen.
I'm excited.
So I think we're going to have our show probably next Saturday or Sunday, live edition, where we can discuss and watch. some of these
Let's do
games
it. Let's
together and
do
watch
it.
some highlights. So yeah, it'll be fun. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to the second show of the Penn State Gridiron Podcast. I'm Mike Javer, Jake Katolka here, signing off. Until next time, have a great one.
Peace.